Hello folks, and thank you very much for clicking on EPV Media YouTube video, for clicking on this particular video. I appreciate that very much. You know, the perception has been that TVET education or skill acquisition is reserved for those who are not academically brilliant, who cannot continue their formal academic education, or who are just not that intelligent. But is that really the case? Is TVET and formal education different sides of the same coin or different coins altogether? I put this question to Mr. Emmanuel Awumee, and let's see what he has to say about this. But before then, I would like to implore you to please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Subscribe so that I can immediately inform you of my subsequent video uploads. Let's go now and listen to Mr. Awumee, and thank you very much for subscribing.
One of the challenges I have here is because I have to employ school dropouts, uneducated people, because the industry, that is the caliber of people it attracts. These people come and you want to really tell them about the vision and mission direction of the company and organization. It's like you are telling them a story. They don't get it. Yeah. They do things and you want to imagine if for real there was a good reasoning behind it.
Can you give us practical examples?
Okay, some of the practical example, for instance, is you have somebody who knows he has to come to work, walks to work around 8 or 9, and now walks to the bathroom to go and take a shower. And this is an experience that I just had this morning.
Wow.
Okay, and then you wonder. You have somebody who have come to work, gets 1 or 2 jobs done, runs to the storeroom or somewhere to go and sleep. Meanwhile, knowing that I need to work to raise money, and that is what they will use to pay me. Attitude. Someone comes to work, tells you that the uncle's brother's sister is dead, and so he has to go for a funeral, and goes and spend 2 weeks before returning. You query the person, he doesn't get it while you are querying him. So are you getting this kind of, and this is what I face almost every day for the 20 years I've been doing this.
But I guess even the educated person will still do some of this, in particular the funeral stuff and...
Yeah, but you see, it becomes a bit minimal because I would say that they are able to reason through things much better than...
They appreciate things and
understand than the non-educated ones entirely.
That's true.
You know, so it's quite challenging actually, employing such people within the informal sector and running a business to succeed for these years. Right. It's quite a challenging task. But then, if we begin to try to put down certain conditions. So for instance, I've been saying that before you are given a driving license to drive even a trotro vehicle or a taxi, you should have an SS certificate.
Right.
All right. So that would have meant that you have gone through the educational stream and your intellect has been a bit upgraded to realize that misbehaving on the street is bad. Yeah. And there are certain common sensical issues or things that you do or you don't do on the road that your conscience can prick you and tell you shouldn't do.
Right.
All right. So a bit more education, a bit more of such measures put in place would drive people to go to school. Okay. It can also be said that if you don't have a technical education background, you will not be permitted to drive a taxi or a trotro, whatever. Right. So that those who don't have the inclination to take up the real academic educational path will be compelled to go through technical vocational school to have that certification before driving. You understand? Because most of the people who drive this trotro and taxis, you see that majority of them have not been able to upgrade their education from either JSS, or some of them haven't even been to school at all. And so it becomes easy for the school dropouts and those who haven't gone to school to migrate in taking up driving as a profession, and then settling in commercial vehicle driving. Okay, and so they don't seem to appreciate safety, security, and customer service. And so that can also contribute a lot in accidents on our roads.
Right.
All right. So one of the ways to also attract people to go take up some of these technical vocational courses or programs could be tagged into acquisition of driving license and some of the other licenses we need for other aspects of our daily lives and grooming. And so it will compel you to know that if you don't have a technical school education certificate, you will not be given a driving license.
All right.
So you will be forced to want to at least educate yourself to some level. You understand? So there are quite a number of factors that can be put in place in rebranding the technical vocational education sector and also the informal sector that can help enhance its intake and bring about employment opportunities, and so help increase the economy and deliver all of us from the hardships and challenges we have.
You mentioned COVID, and we know that it's brought a lot of changes to business operations. For businesses like yours, what are some of the changes that COVID brought? First of all, we understand some of these changes might be permanent, that most businesses will have to re-strategize after COVID. Do you believe that's the case, or is it just a temporary thing that we have to do? And what are some of the effects that COVID has had on your business, and how have you dealt with it?
Yes, I think COVID has really brought a lot of re-strategizing in business operations. Now, and re-strategizing as in improving efficiency in operations. Okay. Because now a lot more attention is being paid on what measures to put in place to be able to improve efficiency, because competition have risen.
Right.
A lot of businesses has been affected, and so everybody who has been in business is trying to give out their best to be able to keep their clients.
Right.
And so you want to look at what measures you are going to put in place to give out your best. Now, some of the challenges, for instance, I encountered was because of the COVID, it came with a symptom. Okay, so we have a virus that we are fighting, and this virus is deposited on surfaces, and one can infect, or one can pick it up from someone who is speaking to you and all that. And now the vehicle, as in the automobile, the interior aspect of it, research has proven that the interior of the vehicle harbors a great chunk of bacteria and germs already. Because when such bacteria and germs find their way into the car, exit point is almost nil because of the enclosed nature of it. All right. Now, when you take the virus, because it's on surfaces, if somebody is infected, for instance, he holds the steering wheel, holds the gear lever, he coughs and he leaves it on the dash panel, he handles the seat and brings his car to you. So the possibility of you getting infected is high. Now, if another client comes and doesn't have it at all, the possibility that a staff could have it and work on the car, it's also there. So there is a fear factor in here. All right. So in the inception of the COVID-19 virus pandemic, it affected us heavily. We lost almost about 90% of our customer base.
What?
As a result of fear factor. We could come to work and the place is virtually quiet.
Whoa.
All right. So it's like customers had the fear that when they bring their car, they could get infected. We also had the fear that when they bring their car, we could also get infected. So there was a fear factor at both ends. So what I had to do was to tried to deal with the fear factor, because the fear factor became the major issue here. How can I take away the fear factor? So I had to try to understand the dynamics within the pandemic and what measures and protocols that are being put in place to help people go through it. And so I have to look at those protocols and see how I can relate those protocols to the automobile sector. So what I had to do was to first embark on an educational program for my staff, who are the internal customers. Educate them and create awareness of the pandemic and how we as a team and against our families, friends, we need to educate them so that none of them go get it, because any of them that have it will eventually affect all of us. So I was having that education to start. Whilst we didn't have much customers coming, I used that period to educate my staff so that we will be more conscious and aware, such that none of us get infected to come and infect us and also our customers. So that went on for a while. After I realized there seems to be much informed about the pandemic influence and effect on us, then I brought in the various protocols that we needed to observe. That was also going to cost me, because I had to purchase some equipment such that every car that is brought in is first disinfected before we work on it, to ensure that should any customer is infected and comes to our premises, we will have stopped it before starting to work. So I bought an equipment that we use for disinfection, so which is a steam machine, and we also use the chlorine to back up. Now it's being said that the virus can only withstand about 67 degrees Celsius of heat, but this machine emits over 100 degrees Celsius of heat. All right, so that alone is good enough to demobilize any virus when we use it for disinfecting the car. We implemented the use of PPEs. So we have the frontline persons who receive the vehicle and get it disinfected before the second line of team come in to do the work. So the frontliners were in PPEs, heavily protected, as though we were working in the hospital. Yes, during the hyper moment of the pandemic, that was how we clothed ourselves. So once you bring in the vehicle, you come and meet us in our PPE, not compromising to anything. Even receiving your car key, we receive it in a bowl, and then we disinfect it, sanitize it before we can handle it. All right. So having implemented some of these measures, when some few customers started coming in and realized that we seems to have equipped ourselves ready to deal with the situation, it started boosting their confidence level. Message started going around, and before I could realize, within the shortest space of time, I had quite a number of my customers coming back, and it has heavily improved across the period of time, where now we even have the vehicle disinfected before we hand it over to the customer.
Oh, great.
You know,
so that's increased the cost?
That increases the cost, you know, but then it is better you find a way of managing your cost to keep your customers than to lose them altogether. You know, so we try to put in a measure that will mitigate the cost factor so that customers can afford it, and also we assure them of good health and also assure ourselves of good health. These are some of the practical measures we put in place that have helped us through up till now within the COVID-19 pandemic period. Yes.
We've been talking all this while. We haven't really delved into Sesil. What are the distinct services that you provide anyway? So
Yes.
you can have that.
Good. Now, I will recommend you subscribe to this channel. This is a channel that seeks to provide you with enough information on entrepreneurship, technical vocational education and training, and ICT. These are sets of information, when well harnessed and made judicious use of, can help build on your human capital in the job market. It can as well get you well informed to set yourself up as an entrepreneur and build a big business out of this. This will help you walk yourself away from unemployment, and together we will be able to contribute to reduce the unemployment rate we have in our country.